So guys, let's just talk about last year. Like, we had a worship night in September last year, and it was something special, I thought. Yeah, what'd you guys think?
It was awesome.
To see how we grew, like from the number of churches that were involved, and still just having everyone, no egos involved.
Oh man.
It's one of my favorite parts of this group is that we can just come, lay all that stuff aside, and it truly is just like, let's just proclaim who Jesus is.
It was really cool to be, to change the pace a little bit and be in a room. But the thing that stood out to me that was super cool was just the sheer volume of everyone singing together.
Even though we didn't get to be outside like we wanted to, I thought there was something really, really unique and really special about saying like, right, but we are gathering in a place where the church gathers to worship.
Yeah, I think we all can agree it was like, we missed the outdoor space, we missed the park, those of us who'd gotten to be a part of that, but man, there was something so different about being in a room where like the hunger and the like engagement was just felt, like people just showed up hungry, I felt like, for that experience.
So, we're talking about what, the experience was like, but what was your favorite moment of last year?
Getting to interact with different artists.
Lots of relationship in the process. Yeah, it gets built. It's really fun. So two moments for me in the actual like service that I remember really standing out. Honestly, one was like the very beginning. We had this intro track. It sounds cliche, but the moment the bass dropped in that, there was just like this tangible in the room. You just watched everybody kind of like lean in, like, all right, we're ready. And just as soon as we started that song, it was just like from the downbeat, people were ready to go. But then also, when Marshall and Heather led Gratitude, and they got to that chorus, so I throw up my hands, and it was just like the room just came alive all over again.
I know for me, it's not so much a moment as much as it is an element that had moments, and that was the choir. It's almost like an extra encouragement to the congregation, It puts a congregation on stage is what it feels like. It just goes a slight step beyond like what an individual worship leader can do,
So I heard some pretty cool stories come out of that night, but I was wondering if you guys had any stories to tell, your own personal interactions that people told you or things you heard.
Yeah, I've got one. Actually, it was a great story coming from one of the guys that goes to Sherwood. He was on our prayer team, and he was kind of hanging around afterwards as people were clearing out. And there was a guy who was kind of staying behind, and they ended up getting into a conversation. And this guy was from Indianapolis, but was staying with his parents in Nashville, Indiana, because he and his wife they were having a tiff and just needed some space. And so they were separated for a time, but he was staying there, and he heard an ad 30 minutes before the worship night started, showed up, and just was so moved. And as they were praying together afterwards, he looked up and told this guy in our church, he said, I can't wait to come back next year with my family when God redeems and restores our relationship.
Wow.
Mine's pretty similar, but mine's for my sister. So my sister came, and my niece also passed away. She wasn't even one, she was 8 months old, and she had passed away about a year before. She came and kind of sat in the balcony, and she was still wrestling with God a lot, and just mad and not able to pray. Just kind of had wrecked her. And the next day she texted me and said, hey, we need to meet. And we hooked up, and through tears she said, me and Jesus wrestled last night and he won. Songs do that, and that gathering together can allow healing in ways that we would never dream of.
I think the cool story that I heard was during the pastor prayer moment. We had one of our, not one of our lead pastors, but one of our preaching pastors felt like he should come up, and so he did.
Yeah.
He just said like in that moment, like he really felt like a mixture of like a clarified understanding of his burden as a pastor, like someone who shepherds others, but also like a clarification of like a peace that comes from this idea that like that's something that the Lord has ordained for him, like that's not something that he's doing on his own, and that the church is behind him. Yeah.
And I love that moment too, because it does show the diversity of the churches involved. I mean, you guys, you got guys in there in shorts and t-shirts, and then I saw this older dude in there like full suit.
Yeah.
And just beautiful how diverse the
Brings
group
it all
is
together,
and brings it
yeah.
all together.
All right, so just especially, as we're all worship leaders for different churches, we've all got different leanings, we've all got different yearnings, but also just, I'm curious, what do we personally feel like the Lord is putting on our hearts as we think about this coming year?
A couple years ago, we had 3 songs that we had written and produced, and then introduced through that summer, and then led them at the worship night. Like I would like us to, I'd like us to have some new songs this year that we lead for the community of Bloomington.
I think a word that has just kind of been on my heart for a while is this idea of revival. And I just feel like the last few years, there's been this spiritual awakening going on in a lot of people, especially younger people in America. I'm praying for that to continue into this year, and we can just not get in the way.
Well, I'm obviously hopeful that we can be outside this year. I think that'd be great. Like, cause I said the whole sacred space thing, that's definitely like a really unique thing that we got to experience and all that. But there's also something really unique about it being in like having a more missional focus of like, but it's also in a space where someone who otherwise wouldn't feel invited now feels invited. I really look forward to us having that opportunity this coming year.
We had the prayer over the pastors. The pastors are vitally important, but if there's going to be revival, it's not going to happen from a pulpit. I think it's going to happen from the relationships of all the people in their businesses and in their homes. And I want to see us leave this place revived so that we know that we are a royal priesthood, that every believer has a calling to go and share Jesus.
Guys, thanks for sitting down and chatting for a little bit. I'm looking forward to making music with you all again, and getting this thing started. Can't wait to see what God does this year and beyond. Let's make it happen, shall we?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right.